I'm James London. I own Chubby Fish and Seahorse. And today I'm here at the Garden Gun offices. We're going to make a little caviar with fancy ranch and some poppables to dip it in. We have a dock-to-table restaurant called Chubby Fish. And then the bar next door is called Seahorse, and a really great cocktail program. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. We'll start off with some shallots. So whenever we're doing a caviar presentation, we always try to make it really casual and approachable, because we hate like the hoity-toity nature that goes along with caviar. So we kind of flip the script and we always go pretty casual on it. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to dice up a little bit of shallots for this. And we'll just go the easy route for those at home. Take off the sides, and then we come through, dice these up. We'll flip it back through the other way. And fancy ranch is something that we make in the restaurant pretty often. It's great with fried chicken. It's great with caviar. It's great to eat with scrambled eggs. I folded it into my scrambled eggs right at the last minute, and it gives them kind of this beautiful, zesty, lovely flavor. So, diced shallots in the bowl. And then I'm going to come through with a little bit of chive. And I go pretty aggressive on the chive. I go pretty light on the shallot because I don't want it. I like the freshness that the green chives provide, and I don't want it to get too bitter with the shallots. So I worked at a restaurant called Muse, that is still there on Society Street. And this was when I was in college, and they had just opened up. And the chef there, Jason Hauser, did a dish with baby spinach and we didn't call it fancy ranch. I forget what we called it, but it was something, I don't know, it's like a warm bacon vinaigrette, but the base of it was essentially what I'm now calling fancy ranch. The only difference was there was a bunch of picked thyme in it, and I remember that because I had to pick thyme every day to make that dressing. But I knew how good it was, and I knew that I was going to come back to it one day. So here we go. So now I use it for whenever I need like a real pick-me-up in flavor. So this right here, this is creme fraiche. And you can find creme fraiche now basically at any grocery store in the Charleston area. Oftentimes it's with all the fancy cheeses in the fancy cheese little stall. And it's great. It's great that we can now find it. It used to be a real pain to find it, and now it's pretty much everywhere. So creme fraiche in, and then I'm gonna go really hardcore on black pepper. I want the black pepper to really perk you up, and I want you to be able to feel it. We use pepper a lot at the restaurant because it kind of takes flavors and elevates them up into your brain. So as opposed to just tasting it on your palate, you're now feeling it in your head. So then we have lemon zest, and we go a copious amount of lemon zest. And we don't use the juice in this application. So all the acid is coming out of the creme fraiche itself, and then the zest from the lemon. So it really kind of perks it up, livens it up. When we're discussing flavor, when we're talking about flavor, and by the way, we don't use any written recipes at the restaurant. So all the cooks there, they know how to cook in and out. They understand flavor. They work with flavor very, very well. So anytime you come back to Chubby Fish and have that same dish, the next time, it was never copycatted off of a recipe from prior. And so it's them like constantly developing their palate and constantly working with their palate. But when we're discussing flavor, we're talking about how it makes you feel, like where you feel it in your body, how we want it to, coat your entire tongue from the front of your palate, from the front of your tongue, all the way to the sides, all the way to the back. So yeah, it gets real deep in our flavor discussions. But, I think of my food as being simple, but it's very, very well balanced is what we're striving for. To me, I came from a music background, and so cooking and working with flavor and tasting, I think of it as, in a musical way, where I'm thinking about like almost like crafting the perfect song, or playing the perfect drum fill, and it's a very emotional thing for us, and so we really get deep into it. So it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna snag some salt now. All right, and then I'm gonna stir all this goodness up, and you gotta kind of work this creme fraiche to soften it. So I came down to College of Charleston on to study music, and so I came up playing jazz drums, and so when I came to College of Charleston, I came down to study music, and on nights when I wasn't playing gigs, I was working in restaurants, and so I'd worked in restaurants since I was 14, but I never took it seriously. It was always something that I did, on the side, because I had to have a job, and it was just, a way to make money on the side. And so when I was at College of Charleston, I started picking up cooking gigs on nights where I wasn't, playing, and eventually I had a chef who talked me into cooking with them full time. And so the way that worked is I would basically go to school and then go to my job at the restaurant, and then the fellow line cooks had to clean my station so that I could run to my gig, and then my bandmates had to set up my drum kit and do sound check, and then I would jump up on stage and play. So for me, it was incredible. It was the perfect way to go about it. I didn't have to do any cleaning, and I just got to do the fun stuff. And but it wasn't sustainable, and so eventually my chef sat me down and he said, tomorrow you come in, you're going to tell me if you're going to be a drummer or a chef. And so I came back the next day and I said, I'm going to be a chef. And so I put my horse blinders on at that point, and I just completely devoted myself to cooking. And so once I graduated College of Charleston, I went up to New York and did that for a long time, and then I did San Francisco, but the goal was always to come back here. And I love Charleston. I love the scene that we have. I love the seafood that we have, the produce, and so this was always the point, was to come back here. That's pretty lovely. I'm gonna do one more zest, and I'm gonna do another crack of black pepper. And again, whenever we're using pepper, that's because it takes that flavor and takes it out of your mouth and up into your head, so you can really feel it. This is probably the simplest dip you've had all day, but it's a really good one. So this is some Kaluga caviar. This is from Caviar Star, and they're located up in North Carolina. So we do a lot of work with Caviar Star, and they just have a phenomenal product. They put a lot of care and love into their product. Every time we open it, we know it's going to be extremely high quality. And then these are Lay's Poppables. And when I was in culinary school, we spent a lot of time working on how to make potato chips like these. And then Lay's came out and did it. And it's a hell of a lot easier and a hell of a lot faster. And so, the way we're gonna do this is I take a Lay's Poppable and I dip it in Fancy Ranch, and then I take caviar and I pop that right on top, and then that's it. That's good. So I hope you had a great time, and I hope you get a shipment of caviar and make this at home and enjoy it. And really, I mean, this is, you know, caviar has this long-standing reputation as being extremely fancy and, you know, out of everybody's league. But honestly, like, buy a bag of Lay's Poppables. This is the sea salt flavor, by the way, and that's the move. I've tried them all. Sea salt Poppables, Fancy Ranch, caviar, and I promise you, you'll have a really good time.